meeting to order. The Greater Peoria Mass Transit District City Link monthly meeting, February 13, 2003, 5:30 p.m. Roll call.
Trustee Polk.
Present.
Trustee Ahern.
Present.
Trustee Harrod. Present. Trustee Knox.
Present.
Trustee McBride.
Present.
You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, sir. Everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Nick.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, see. Receipt reading of the minutes for the meeting of January 9th, 2023. Additions, corrections, mistakes? Hearing none, could I get a motion
So moved.
and a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Ayes have it. Receipt and reading of communications?
There are none.
None, thank you. Board of Officers and Trustees? Hearing none. Report of standing committees. Ms. Patty?
ADA, we are all set for our meeting that we're going to have on March 15th. It's going to be another wow event. It's going to be extraordinary. We have taken the liberty as a committee to give you all little cards that I want you to pass out to people so that we have a really good attendance at our meeting. It is going to be the 15th of March. It's from 3:30 to 5:30 at the main library downtown. We have a full agenda. The things that we're going to be covering, we're going to talk services to the public, everything that we could possibly give them, how we apply for various programs about city lift, benefit access, veterans, half fare. We're going to have an overview. The paratransit reader's guide has been updated. We're going to talk about ticket sales and options. We're still working on that price. We haven't gotten anything specific that we're going to do about that yet. So it is a full day. We're going to have Angel talk about Echoline, and it'll be a fun-filled session. It'll be information that everybody, I think, needs to know. If you have a WOW t-shirt, please wear it. And we would love to see all of you there. And please pass the word so that we have a really good attendance. That would be it.
Questions, comments? Outstanding. Thanks, Patty. We'll pass these out. Any other standing committees? Hearing none. Or the general manager, given by the assistant general manager.
Good evening. So Doug attended IPTA down in Springfield this 2 weeks ago, last week. He met with the Cultural Employee Committee. He interviewed and hired our new Director of Human Resources, Chris Holmquist, who I will pass the mic on to in a moment. He did 2 virtual bus coalition meetings, and Kenny will elaborate a little bit more on this, but he and I met and discussed the funding and purchase for used vehicles and a timeline schedule for new medium-duty buses. But I did want to hand over the mic to Chris Holmquist, if she wants to come up and introduce herself.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for, first of all, hiring me and having me here. I'm excited to be here. My name is Christina Holmquist, but I go by Chris. I come with 20 years of human resources experience, 10 in public sector and union environments early in my career. I went out for the last 10 years of my career as a self-employed HR consultant, where I performed assessments of performance, operations, those kinds of things. And ultimately, I have transitioned back here to the state of Illinois. I've been in Colorado for 20 years, but my family is all from north of here, Mendota, Illinois. And it's kind of my life.
Could you hold your mic up?
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry.
For sharing. Thank you.
Yes. So it was a time of my life to move back to Illinois, and I have been doing a targeted search, finding, a place where I could land, the next transition or the period of my career. And I was looking for a place of public service, which is what landed me here. So with that, I'm happy to be here. I'm 2 weeks in. I'm excited to be here. And if there are any questions that I could answer for you, please let me know now. So I'll just open the floor to you.
Chris, I don't have a question, I just have a comment. And
Sure.
welcome, glad to have you on board. And I'm sure you know from during the interview process and working with Doug and the rest of the team, we're happy to have you here. There were several really key criteria that we were looking for in the role, including, you said you had some time in the union side house, so we needed someone with labor relations experience, EEOC experience, and DEI experience. So those are some of the things we'll be looking to Doug, we'll be looking to you to, start implementing right away.
And I'm glad you brought it up. Those are all the reasons why I picked you. And you made it very clear in your announcement. So I come with all that experience. And more than that, I think that something that's unique, maybe that you should know about my past is for the 10 years that I worked for the state of Colorado and the Governor's Office of Information Technology, we were such a large organization that almost all of our legal questions were directly managed with the Attorney General's office. So the kind and level of legal experience that I have across HR, I think will prove to be very helpful here. And it'll be a way that I can look at some ways to modernize what we're currently doing. So I'm happy to serve in those ways.
We're glad you're here.
Welcome.
I can't say enough. I'm happy to be here. I'm also happy that I've been really welcomed with open arms since I've been here. And man, we've got some great work to do ahead of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Any other questions actually before I close?
No.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Do I need to shut this off?
You can hand it to the young lady right next to you.
There you go.
Good evening. I can't see. So we'll get started with phase A of the roof building. We relocated a couple cameras for the owner's request for how they were shown. They weren't giving Steve the whole view that he wanted. So we went ahead and went in and readjusted those for him. The design team is still working on closeout docks. Those are going to be ongoing because it's at the bottom of the priority list. So I'll most likely get rid of phase A coming up unless there's some change moving down the thing. But the owner has all the training videos and the tentative closeout docs, but they just haven't been signed off by the architect. Moving into phase B, C, and D, we have been super busy. Ameren excavated and installed the gas meter at the east of the electrical room. A&J excavated and installed conduit for the temp electrical service. Also installed conduit in the duct bank at the north end of the garage and in the electrical room, along with temp power conduit. The electrical room is pretty cool. It actually has 56 4-inch conduits coming into this room. So there was a lot of coordination and kind of reworking with this. So just a cool little tidbit there. They also poured duct bank on the north side of the drive lane between garage and south building for duct bank. Installed conduits and poured duct bank in the drive lane between the garage and south building. So they've been pretty busy. Any Finch backfilled around the skylift pits at northwest end of garage and also excavated for diamond lift pits at the southwest of the garage. Hanley United Ironworkers installed decking at admin building second floor. Installed rebar and diamond lift pits at the southwest end of the garage and installed rebar in the lift pit at the southeast end of the garage. Tobin's excavated for underground plumbing installation at southwest end of admin. Installed underground plumbing for lift at southwest end of the garage. River City, we've been super busy. We formed diamond lift walls at northeast and southwest end of garage. We've poured diamond lift walls at north end of garage. Also did the slab at the northeast and southwest end of garage. We did the mezzanine and the skywalk in the garage. And then we did the skylift slab at the southeast end of the garage. And then also wrapped some forms for the lift walls. Western staged materials and started installing roof at the garage. Currently, they are 90% complete. Should be wrapping up with that and getting completely sealed in there. RCC had some drone pics taken last month and just wanted to include them this month for you guys to see the overall site. And then the budget update, no adjustments to the GMP, but we did approve Amendment 7 with the schedule being updated to December of 2024. The reasoning behind this is the house demo needs to be completed, and then the back parking lot is getting redesigned. So far, the cost has not changed, it's just the schedule dates. And then BC&D 34.55% construction complete. Total gross build is 15 million. And then I will be submitting payout number 21 next week, and then we'll get that update. Any questions?
What's a skylift?
All of your lifts are gonna lift the buses,
As opposed to before they didn't do that?
It's.
Oh, yeah.
and they're in the pits, yes. So it's a piston style.
Okay.
They'll actually lift, it'll be all controlled with like a control panel. So that if the guys want to do anything, they just push a button, it goes up after the bus is lifted.
What
Yeah,
was
you have the
the-
diamond and the.
Oh, okay. What was the original completion date?
December of 2023.
Okay, so it's a year.
Yes. But we did confirm that anytime, we're hoping September, October, fall, but we don't have any way to confirm that
Yeah.
until I see the redesign of what M2 gives us. So we're hoping to get done. Any money not used will go back to the owner 100%. I will update you as
That's
soon as
fine.
we get the design completed and we can finalize that.
Okay.
Anything else?
They're good. The hold on your time lapse video. There's no place for them to effectively put it inside the building. So for the board meeting or two, we had to stop it. But eventually, I think we're going to turn it so you can see the work of the parking lot that's going to start in a few months in the spring. So that'd be pretty cool. So right now, there's just nothing going on outside. So just had to take a time out with it.
Well, that's so good. We enjoyed that.
And then I'll bring it back, I promise. That was the coolest part.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not
Much we like
bad.
hearing from you, Beth. We like the video better.
No.
Report of the Transdev General Manager, Angel.
Thank you. I apologize for being late. Very short staff today, so I was just got done with the pickup in the Chillicothe. So I apologize. And I want to apologize also that I turned down my report. I'll need to leave because we got a few things going on. So on-time performance was 81%. We are still struggling with that. We did just graduate 4 drivers 2 weeks ago, so it's starting to slowly come back up. I have 2 more that are in class right now, and as of right now, 1, possibly 2, that they're either going to start tomorrow if all their paperwork came back while I was out of the room. Otherwise, we'll start next week. So we're looking forward to that. Our dispatch manager, his last day was on Friday. We have hired a new dispatch manager. She started today. And because of how everything was, she's already answering phones. We just kind of threw her out there because it was easier for me to go jump in the van instead of her, quite frankly. Sorry, I was a little out of breath. It's been quite an afternoon. So her name is Brittany, and she doesn't have passenger transportation experience, but she has extensive experience in management and logistics. So with trucking companies. And I'm sorry, Sharon. So she has extensive managerial and operations experience, logistical. So she's very good at thinking fast. She has really good references. So we're really excited to have her on board. I think already, yes, I'm sorry, I already told you we have a new HR manager. Our other one is actually temporarily here, Tasia. So he's doing a really great job. He's really out there in the community, putting flyers out there, interviewing almost every day. So I'm really happy that he decided to come with us. And other than that, everything else is in your packet. Unless you have any questions at all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, I do apologize.
No problem.
All right.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Next, public comments.
There are none.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The old business. Okay. And new business, right into that. Resolution 23-23, authorization to award contract to Top Roofing for the administrative building roof replacement, an amount not to exceed $206,000.
The district issued an IFB for qualified bidders for the replacement roof of the current administration building. We received 5 bids. The bid submitted by Premier Roofing, which is doing business as Top Roofing, was the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. If approved, we would work with the contractor to get on the schedule for the spring. This roof in this building, it's the original roof, it leaks. There's pools of water up there. It needs to be replaced. So it is recommended that the board authorizes the general manager to award a contract to Top Roofing in an amount not to exceed $206,000.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, can we get a roll call vote?
Trustee Ahar,
Approve.
trustee Polk, approved. Trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Knox,
Approve.
trustee McBride, approved.
Motion passed. Next resolution, 23-24, purchase of real estate located at 111 Van Buren Street, Pure, Illinois, in an amount not to exceed $40,000.
So the district previously approved a land acquisition at 111 Van Buren, but after failed negotiations with the district, we used powers of eminent domain within its authority to acquire the property. After a court ruling, the district will take possession of the property at 111 Van Buren and award the homeowner the full compensation of $40,000. So need approval for that to happen and authorize the general manager and our attorney to deliver all documents and funds in order to compensate the homeowner of $40,000.
Can I get a motion?
I approve.
Second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Trustee Ahar,
Approve.
trustee Polk, approved. Trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Knox,
Approve.
trustee McBride, approved.
Motion passed. Go buy you a house.
I will.
Next, resolution 23-25, approval to enter into the Narcan vending program with Unity Point Health, Unity Place. Jason.
Good evening. This is to, there we go. There we go, third time's the charm. All right, looking to enter into an agreement with Unity Point Health, Unity Place. They're proposing a partnership with the district to place a Narcan vending machine at the transit center. The machine is part of an effort to reduce opioid-related overdose deaths by expanding access to Narcan nasal spray. Since the transit center is essentially located a building that has a large number of hours of access, that's why they're proposing that. The machine would be placed in the lobby, it'd be stocked and everything else by Unity Point, Unity Place. There's no items being procured, no cost to the district other than the space for the machine at the transit center. So it is my recommendation to the Board of Trustees to approve the agreement between Unity Point Health, Unity Place to place this machine at the transit center.
Questions? I have one.
How many others, I don't remember from reading this, how many others are in the area?
We would be the first in Peoria County. They're looking to put another one in Tazewell, somewhere around the area of the courthouse. There are other cities in the state of Illinois that have them. It's become somewhat of a newer program in the past couple of years where that's expanding that access to try to reduce the number of opioid-related deaths. 3 out of 4 accidental deaths in the United States are currently due to drug overdose. So I believe that as stewards in the community, that anything we can do to help to reduce that number, I think we have the responsibility to do.
And how soon do you know?
This would be within the next month. They would be
Wow,
looking to place the
okay.
machine.
So in the other locations in the state, you said, are there any other transit districts that have placed in other areas?
Other than the CTA, we would be the first, I guess, agency of our size to do this. They have them in Rockford and they have them in Naperville and some other cities. Bloomington has some, but we would be the first agency outside of the city of Chicago.
I'm sorry, so you're saying there are no other transit districts that have this other than Chicago?
Correct.
Okay.
Jason, will there be a way to monitor? I mean, I'm in my mind, vending machine, I'm like getting a piece of candy, but there will be a way to monitor how this goes out or how it's to the riders or the public?
What they're going to be doing, anyone that wishes to receive one of these overdose kits from the machine, they would enter the zip code of the area they're in. It would dispense machines. So that way they'd be able to track them to what areas they're being dispensed to, and then look at how the program is affecting those areas. And then as far as, a concern of someone going through and just taking, I guess, all the things from the machine, that has not been something that has occurred in other areas. I don't know if we would see that, but it will, since it will be in the lobby of the transit center, we do have the coverage down there with our CCTV cameras.
So did Unity Point come to us with this?
Yes, they approached us for this.
So they'll be doing marketing of it?
That's correct. They'll be doing the marketing.
Do you know how they're gonna market it?
They're marketing it through both print ad on their website, through Unity Place,
Okay.
through their Narcan coordinator.
Okay, thank you.
Question for Attorney Wambacher there. Do we have any other, would this, agreeing to this expose us in any way to other legislation or other legal ramifications that we should know about?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, Jason and I have been talking about this for a number of months or whatever. The machine is going to be marked as, Unity Points machine. That's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that the vending machine was clearly marked as their machine or whatever. So, the medication or the drug that comes out of this is not a drug that can be abused. So I don't think there's any real exposure other than the fact we have the machine there. Now we're always a target defendant, okay, just by the nature of being a public entity, okay, and when there's no one else to sue, you look for a target. So, but I don't see this, the way the program is set up, that we would have any specific, exposure that we should be, overly concerned about as part of our normal operation of the transit center itself.
And then just to add on to that, Trustee Knox, any type of dispensing or use of Narcan or naloxone is covered under Illinois' Good Samaritan laws as well. As long as I've been here, and prior to that, our security officers at the transit center have had Narcan available to them and use it infrequently, but they do use it at the transit center or have used it out on the platform occasionally for passengers or other people that are through the area that are having an overdose.
So I'm glad you said that, because that was going to be my next question. And is, now when you say our security officers, are you talking about the contracted allied people, or are you talking about the Peoria police officers?
Both.
So, and they're already issued that as part of their role as a police officer. So then do we need to put a machine in we have, then they can assume that liability for
the Narcan that's is provided to the police officers at the transit center and to Allied Universal down there is in partnership with Unity Point. They've provided that to us free of charge, again, since prior to my working at the district. And so that's something that we've provided while they've been working down there.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What have we considered in the way of our own employee while on work time acting as a good Samaritan? Is there any liability? Do you have a position?
There would, again, our employees, if they acted as a good Samaritan, they would be covered under Illinois' Good Samaritan laws for the deployment of Narcan. And that's something that has been talked about, but just initially.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some discussions about that in the context of, I mean, originally there was some issue as to whether or not we should train our employees. And I'm reluctant to, well, first of all, we have enough trouble training our employees to do their jobs alone, okay? Without trying to train them to do something that they may not feel comfortable in doing. So I don't, my own reaction to the whole situation was like, if people are volunteers, all right? But I don't think it's appropriate to somehow make this part of their job duties, because in any situation where there might be an emergency or an unusual situation, people, not everyone feels comfortable in stepping into that role. And I don't think we should create an expectation to the public that our employees are there to save your life if you're overdosing, right? Because that's not our thing. I mean, we've got police officers, we've got first responders that are trained to do that type of thing. So my first reaction was, I don't think we want to train, we want to get into a program where we're creating this expectation or we're forcing our employees to go through this type of training, especially when they may not feel comfortable.
So I agree, it's not job related to the role. And certainly we have really kind and compassionate people that I can tell in 2 weeks would take this step to be useful and helpful in this environment. So I think we need to be careful about how we walk that balance between somebody who then acts, and because they're on work time, then we're talking about workers' comp and all those other injuries. So I think we need to have a concerted effort and a position on this before we go.
I agree for doing any type of thing with any employees.
I think it's important to understand that the purpose of having the vending machine there is not really so that our employees can administer this to people. The idea is there is a drug community, and a lot of persons in that drug community understand the dangers of overdose and understand what they might experience themselves or someone else who they know that are also in that same drug community. And it's so that they can obtain this Narcan, so that if they're in a situation potentially where they're not necessarily at our facility, but any place, and they feel comfortable, that they can administer this to a friend of theirs who they may believe is overdosing. So the purpose of the vending machine is really not for the transit center to be turned into an overdose location, but much more to the contrary, to make it more widely available in the community to those persons that are potentially in that drug community.
I was gonna say, and it's not necessarily people that are involved in the drug community, those that are involved in the use of illicit drugs, but the majority of people that are subject to an overdose or have been found to have been overdosing and use the use of Narcan are people that, are just regular people. Maybe they have a prescription for a painkiller or something like that, and they take too much. They've developed some type of addiction to whatever the substance may be, and they take too much and they overdose, and it's for a family member to save the life of that person. It's not just illicit drugs. And so yeah,
I guess my question in this whole scenario, because I've read everything you gave me, is that I understand that it's a community service that they want us to provide, but how many people are really gonna come down to? I mean, I just don't see the practicality of it being at the transit center. I mean, I don't know. I'm not seeing a benefit. I see more things that are a liability to us, even though you're saying there isn't. I don't know the benefit of us having it there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So help me. I mean, I'm not saying no, but I mean, I just need a little bit more persuasion as to why we think it's a good thing for us to do. Because then do we start talking about defibrillators and those kind of things? I mean, are we opening up a path that we don't really want to go down? And knowing our employees that are down there, I can see them if somebody is struggling and they think they're having an issue with drugs, trying to help them out. Then we go back into what our new HR person is saying is, so I'm just not, I'm kind of like on the border. I don't know which way to go with this.
Do you have a defibrillator down there?
Yes,
Yeah.
we currently have defibrillators at the transit center with both adult and pediatric pads.
And what happens, or what kind of liability do we have with those? Is it the same?
It falls under the
The
Good Samaritan law.
thing? Okay.
Any type of first aid, rendering of assistance falls under Good Samaritan law.
Have we used them?
A couple times a year.
So I mean, I just need.
I
just
think,
need
I
help.
think the PR from, the good PR from this alone is worth at least trying it. I think if you save one person and they're allowed to, and they use it, get it out of the vending machine, it's, I mean, the PR alone is, you're gonna, that's a windfall for us, I think. No, I don't love this, but I mean, they're gonna do it anyway, and why not provide it a safe spot for them to get the Narcan when they need it?
It is a safe spot. It does have, large amount of people travel through there every day. They talked with I guess the health department or some other locations around town, but they just don't have the hours that we have. They don't have the location, the pedestrian traffic that we have as compared to other locations.
Is there a way that we could do just a trial period just to see if this works? If we do it for like 6 months
Yeah,
or
I
a
mean,
year, and then.
I don't see why we couldn't do some, a 6-month agreement with them and see how it goes. And then, if at the end of the 6 month it doesn't work out, then amicably part ways, and if then it works, then we continue. So
Are we signing in, we're not signing any type of contract with Unity Point or anything, so at some point, if we see, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, then we can just yank that out, can't we?
yeah,
I mean, if we think it's becoming more of a problem for the employees or more of a problem, it's more of a nuisance for the people that are coming there every day to use the bus.
yeah, there's no type of signed agreement or contract or anything. They're saying, hey, can we put a machine in your transit center? We're gonna say yes or no. And if we say yes, then at some point we would go, well, now no. So I think, we can set our own metrics for evaluation, whether or not they keep the machine stocked, what the condition ends up being, and then reevaluate this, 6 months down the road.
Do you know of any other locations that they're working with that may potentially put a machine in the next 3 to 6 months or anything?
Tazewell County. I don't know which specific location in Tazewell County, but they're looking at a couple in Tazewell County right now.
That's the only other place that's.
They're looking at Galesburg, a couple other locations, Henry County, a couple locations up in Henry County.
Yeah, I'm talking more.
Yeah.
More in the area of service.
We would be the first in Peoria. I don't know what other locations they're considering. So we get the claim for number 1, I guess, too.
Board, any other questions, comments, discussion?
The reason I asked that last question is, my last comment is, does that give us an opportunity to say, not no, but no for now? And come back in 6 months and see, did the other place put anything in? Has anything changed? I get being first. Is this a thing that we want to be, on the cutting edge of, or we want some other places to, see how it works and then we can join later? Or do we want to be on the cutting edge or bleeding edge of this one?
Well, just from my own experience, it does seem that, more and more transit agencies are putting these in. More and more transit agencies are having problems with overdoses on buses at transit centers. Fortunately, we don't have the issue here, but, there was an article last week in Mass Transit or Metro Transit magazine talking about people smoking fentanyl on buses and trains. So, is this something that, I think will bring positive PR? Yes. Is this something that's going to bring a positive impact to the community? I believe so. Even if we only have, one person whose life is saved by this machine, it's worth it. And it's no cost to us. We just got to provide, the 2x2 space for the machine.
Jared, you got anything else?
These machines have to be pretty expensive, I think, so.
The machine is being donated by HOI Vending to Unity Point for this program.
So they're free, no.
The machine is given free
Yeah.
for this program, yes.
But somewhere there's expense.
There's the cost to the vending company. It's maybe an older machine that they have. I'm not certain,
Okay.
but
Is there a time frame that we have to let them know? Is this like they need to know this month, next month? Just whenever. My only other comment is that some of the statistics you were giving us, they do say now that because so many drugs are being cut with different things, that these machines don't work as well as they have in the past. So I don't know what to do here.
the biggest thing that the drugs are being cut with are fentanyl. And unlike heroin, or an opioid where 1, perhaps 2 doses are taken and recovered, it could take 6, 8, 10 unlimited number of doses. Again, it's not going to be, someone at the transit center. It's going to be generally somebody in a home or off-site environment that's using this product.
So you're saying they just come down here, get it, and then take it back to help the
Correct.
individual?
Even OSF in some cases has started providing Narcan when somebody receives a prescription for some type of opioid-based pain medication.
Okay, any other discussion? Did we already get a motion on this?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second it.
Can I get a roll call vote to approve to add the vending machine to the facility?
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
trustee Paul. Approved. Trustee Hare,
Approved.
trustee Knox,
Approved. Tough one,
That was
but
kind of, yeah, I almost did abstain, but.
and trustee McBride.
Okay, motion passed.
Jason, thank you for
Yes.
championing the effort. Thank you.
You did a nice job.
Yep. Thanks for answering all the questions too. Well, you can. Next resolution, 23-26, authorization to award a contract to Any Finch for the 111 Van Buren demolition, as well as an alternate bid for multiple tree removals in the amount not to exceed $33,000.
So we issued an IFB to demo the house next door at 111 Van Buren, as well as an alternate within that bid to remove trees in the front yard of the current administration building, as well as 10 trees directly across the street from this building, which are on or near a retaining wall that are in risk of falling onto a neighboring structure. The trees located across the street are on a parcel of land that the district currently owns. We had 4 bids that came in. Any Finch was the most lowest and responsible bid. If approved, we will work with the contractor to get on their schedule as soon as possible, since the demo of 111 Van Buren is a critical path forward for the construction project for the new employee parking lot in regard to the main building project. It is recommended that the board authorizes the general manager to award a contract to Any Finch in an amount not to exceed $33,000.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions regarding this resolution? Hearing none, can I get a roll call vote?
Trustee Ahart,
Approved.
trustee Paul,
Approved.
trustee Hare.
Approved.
Trustee Knox,
Approved.
and trustee McBride. Get that song going.
Motion passed. Resolution 23-27, authorizing the renewal of the current contract with Gallagher Bassett Services Incorporated for claims administrative services of its workers' compensation program for the period of March 1st, 2023 through February 29th, 2024. Fees will be $263 per each medical claim, $1,902 per each indemnity claim, $36 per each incident claim, and $8,050 for administrative services. Jason.
Good evening. I got the microphone figured out this time. So pretty much what Chairman Ehart said, looking for approval for the following year's contract for Gallagher Bassett Services. The increases over previous years, in case you're curious, the work comp medical only claims went up by $14 per claim, the indemnity by $99 per claim, and the incidents by $2. The administrative services fee went up $384. So looking for the board's approval to approve the renewal of the contract with Gallagher Bassett Services for the claims administration for our work comp services.
Can I get a motion?
I got it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so sorry. Go ahead.
You know what? Feel free to ask questions. You're gonna go right ahead.
I have a question.
We'll take a roll in a minute.
First of all, you're giving us this to approve, and it's due in March, right? If you remember, we have asked before that when you have things that are gonna require money, that we need them a month at least before you want us to just say, because it doesn't make any difference if I have questions or not, because we almost have to approve this. My next comment is, do you ever go out for bids to have other people do this? Is it the same thing every year? Help me here with this.
I don't know the answer to the first part of the question. The second, it's been with Gallagher Bassett at least the 3 years I've been here.
Mhm.
I don't know how long before that. Do you know?
And so,
Quite a few years.
so we never look for another company to do anything. We just keep what we have and we just roll with it, basically.
It would appear so.
All right. And you didn't hear us before say that we like to have things that pertain to money prior to us having to make the decision at that particular meeting.
I did. They were a little slow in getting these numbers to me, so we missed the January meeting, and I almost missed this meeting because they didn't get them to me until last week, Tuesday.
Like, who is they?
Gallagher Bassett.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So we have to approve it to meet the timeline now.
Then we propose like a 6-month interim and then go out to bid.
I don't see why not.
I think it's a healthy thing to go out to bid.
I would agree.
Now, would we go out
So
to
do
bid
we-
every month, or whenever there's a claim, or once a year?
Hang on a second.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Said go out for bids. I thought we probably already had, I don't remember. But would we have to go out for bids each time we get it? That we
Limit
need
bids would
to,
last 3 years.
would we do it once a year? Would we do it monthly?
Let me explain. Okay. Gallagher Bassett has been doing this for us for a long, long time. All right. I don't know why this hasn't been bid in the past, except that possibly the management has been satisfied with Gallagher Bassett, and as a result, that they really haven't, made an attempt to bid it out. Now, I assume the figures that we've gotten from Gallagher Bassett are based on us signing a 1-year contract with them. All right. So if we don't sign a 1-year contract, then we can't necessarily hold them to these numbers, but maybe they're willing to hold to these numbers. But that would, require another conversation with them on that. But I don't know the background about why it hasn't been bid or why we're doing this particular way or have been doing it. But I do know Gallagher Bassett has been, I think, our third-party administrator for at least 10 or 12 years. Okay. And I don't remember an occasion during that time period where it was bid out. Now, the funds for this are paid from our self-insurance reserve fund. So they're not quite, they're handled in a little bit different way because they're all local funds generally. So, I mean, if you want, I mean, you can obviously do this and continue it for a year with the idea that you want to bid out the next year. Or you can do something in between and just ask them to go month by month for a period of time while you make a determination, whether or not you want to bid it out now or, or a year from now, or whether or not you don't want to bid it out at all. But I think you need some input from management about, why it's being done this way. And Doug's not here, so.
And maybe I missed the beginning. So the contract is up at the end of this month?
The contract is up the end of this month, yes. This is my second time doing the renewal for this. It's generally been on a year-to-year.
There was a 3-year contract. This is the second auto renewal. I brought up the issue to rebid, and the first time we had an auto renewal, and Doug had an explanation, and unfortunately, I'm not that familiar with the service to be able to answer it for you. But we can, speak to Doug, and I think Christine had some history with it too, and we can email you guys the response.
And I mean, I know from maybe not the history here, but Gallagher Bassett is a leading provider in this space, so it's not like we picked up a bad company or someone that has a history of not treating us right. But yeah, just so we understood that we basically have to make that decision now, or we're going to go month to month, because and I assume that the month to month price is going to be more expensive than they're doing this a deal for annual, obviously.
And that's all based on the number of claims we have per month and.
Okay.
So what's the board's druthers? Do you want to vote on this, or do you want to amend this? We can't really table it since looks like we have to have a vote.
I would say do it with the intention that we need to pay better attention to this and a lot of other things as we continue. I mean, we're still us as a group is still a relatively new board all at one time. So we're asking a lot of questions on these things, and we need to continue to be diligent as we have been going forward on what we need to look at rebidding and what we don't.
Jamie, did you say there was a 3-year contract? This is your number 2 on this?
It was probably renewed prior to that. Bill had mentioned we have had it for several years. But when I had started, there was a 3-year agreement with fixed amounts that we had negotiated. And this is the second time we've renewed it.
Okay.
On an auto renewal.
Okay.
So I would just ask Jason, you'll own this going forward. So, at whatever time over the next year you deem appropriate needing to execute a bid process, just so we can check it for next time around.
And I actually have a meeting next week with Chris, and I'll be working with her on this going forward, and we will have an RFP put together.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve resolution 23-27?
I'll move.
Second,
I'll second.
anybody? Anybody?
I'll second.
Exactly.
Somebody.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ahart?
Approve.
Trustee Paul? Approve. Trustee Hare?
Approve.
Trustee Knox?
Approve.
Trustee McBride approves.
Jason, like I'm getting off on this thing here. Well, I will, this isn't just for Jason, but I think one thing that Patty mentioned that that again, we're asking openly is that we have these financial kind of decisions. I get it, it was out of you asked, it was a little bit out of your control, but any of you that are bringing this stuff forward to us that we need to make some pretty significant financial decisions, and whoever you're working with, if they're not being responsive, then you need to tell them, well, then I got to go, I have a process I have to follow. And if you don't meet these deadlines, then you may not be awarded this contract, you know, or whatever it is in the future. So I get it. And I know in some cases, some conversations I've had with some of you are that maybe we also, and this is a thing that as we look at our strategic planning throughout this year, that whether we also need to adjust some of the limits on the things that need to come to us. So some of the lower things that, in my opinion, whatever that threshold is, doesn't need to belong at this level. It can belong at the level of Doug and the leadership. Then we need to look at that threshold as well for lower items for decision making or smaller numbers.
I have a comment. We are working on updating. So in 2016, they increased the thresholds. And so we're a little behind. We've been looking at right now, the threshold's 25K. We considered increasing it to 50K. Doug had some reservations about that, but last year I looked and we only probably approved like less than 5 resolutions that were between 25K and the 50. So like the demolition of the home, 33,000, that's, not a very big project in the construction world. So for us to have to go through all these approvals, it's like a bottleneck and we kind of get projects that don't get accomplished very fast because we have to wait. So we are in the process. Doug and I and Nick we've discussed new thresholds that we'll eventually bring to you guys for approval.
Sounds good.
Good.
And
Thank you,
then,
Jamie.
I'm sorry, one more comment, just to give you an idea along with that. The total value last year of that contract was less than $30,000. It was like, just over $30,000. I think it was like $31,000, $32,000.
Okay.
But with service agreements, it's hard to say how much you're actually going to spend. So we'll submit them for your approval anyway, just to be on the safe side.
Okay, thank you. Resolution 2328, authorization of purchase of 3 used vehicles for shuttle service provided while the Bob Michael Bridge is under repair, in amount not to exceed $150,000. Mr. Body.
Okay. After listening to that last, I'm not sure if I should do this.
Let me just scoot over away from you.
Good morning,
Be a bumpy ride.
All right, here. Before we actually get into the money part, let me explain how critical this loose improvements they're gonna do to the Bob Michael, how bad it is for us, because that particular bridge,
Jenny.
number 8 East Peoria goes over,
No, one isn't.
number 23, Pekin also goes over, and then our ICC number 20 uses it as that same bridge. So we're gonna have to split those routes up, sit them different directions, so they can improve this bridge to handle more bicycle and pedestrian traffic. It's gonna be closed the whole year. It starts March 13th, and it goes to the 3rd week in November. So yeah, so pretty much the whole year is gonna be down. So. And then again, a lot of that's gonna depend on, how the weather weather is and everything else. So what we're asking for is that present time, I want to say this the wrong way. Some of our vehicles don't quite make it all the time. Okay, we're in that process where we're getting a lot of the buses and the vans back in service, but their rate of deterioration is really catching up to them. We're asking that 3 used vans would actually get us through just to fill this gap. And then we're also going to be looking later on down the road, additional vehicles as well. But this one here is just to get us through the gap. We found some decent, when I say decent, they don't have a lot of miles on them. And Southern Mobility out of St. Louis or Breeze, Illinois. Yeah, Breeze, Illinois. We're constantly in contact with them, Doug is. So with that in mind, I would like you to consider, and I'm going to give you details on each of the vehicles here. A 2014 Ford, they're asking $42,500 for it, and it only has 14,000 miles. That vehicle should be pretty good. A 2016, it's also a Ford, but the way it's configured, this vehicle here will carry from 16 to 20 persons. So that would be an ideal vehicle for the ICC portion of this here shuttle, because once we get it started, that shuttle back and forth to ICC will be their only way over to ICC. So it'll be an hour service instead of the half-hour service that it is now. That vehicle is $51,500. And then in 2018, it's a Ford Transit. It carries 8 people, but it'll do in tight places where we need to actually get more people to a smaller location. That vehicle's going for $55,000. So it's a total just under $150,000. So I'm asking that the board please consider and allow the purchases of these vehicles so we can make this gap work. Questions?
This is for us to use in that, like a full line service model, not a micro transit model.
No microtransit here.
Okay.
This is gonna actually take care of our major routes.
Okay.
Because we got to send the 8 and the 20 to the Mary Baker Bridge, and then we'll send the 23 to the Cedar Street Bridge to make those routes complete. So we're kind of missing stuff in between. That's where this shuttle will help us complete that. So, and with my supervisors having to use vans, they've actually been running routes in their vans as well. So this here will give them a few more vehicles to put in there when some of ours aren't quite working the way it should be.
So it's just so you come up with a creative way to supplement the timing for the work around those other buses the normal buses will still stay in service, but you need this to make up those other stops and then, still be able to provide the service that we have to the folks that we want to serve in that community.
Right, these vehicles will be good to fill that gap in.
Makes sense.
No,
Do we have a use for these after this year's over? Will we be able to continue to use these?
Yes, we will. There's 3 of the vans that we presently have now. They're past their useful life right now. We're just trying to keep them alive so we can function because we need the vehicles.
I need for you to clarify a little bit more for me. What you're actually using these for. Now, my main concern is you're saying that there's going to be an hour wait for the people that are going over to ICC. So are these vans I guess my question is how the 3 buses that you have right now that are servicing those locations, tell me how those buses are still going to be operating.
Okay. What will happen is that the Paradise Hotel, their parking lot there, we've got to stop within there. That will now serve as let's say a temporary layover position. That's where people will get off the 8 or the 23. If they want to go to ICC, they'll pick up the shuttle there, go to ICC. It'll also help us if we need to mitigate people coming back and forth from Walmart as well. So it'll be like a little layover point, but all the buses will meet there, and then each one will go back out to the respective locations.
So you use that as kind of a mini East Peoria Transit Center to figure out a way to service the 3 bus lines and the 3 vanes, so to speak.
Yeah, well, don't get that out to the public yet, but yeah.
Well, yeah, we won't say that way.
Yeah.
We won't say that way.
Okay.
So in actuality, you have the 6 vehicles that are servicing this for a
It's-
time being?
Unfortunately, due to the Mount
That's
Michael
okay.
Bridge
I'm
being
just-
down. Yeah.
Okay,
it's-
but you've got 6 to accommodate the loss of the Bob Michael Bridge.
Yes.
All right, okay. My only other question is, where is the money coming from?
You see, that's why I need Doug here. There's, with it being a local match, which is, we can only use local money to purchase used vehicles. I'm not exactly sure where the loan is coming from, but he's already got a plan in the works for it, so.
Okay,
It could,
but you don't know what that plan is?
Not totally, no.
All right.
well, he's talked about a loan. I mean, that came out in the email,
Mhm.
but there is, you do have a capital development fund. Okay, that's funded with local funds that we use for our local match for things. So, I don't know about access to that fund because Christine is not here. Okay, so, but there is a capital development fund, and that's why the capital development fund was created, was to be able to take some of our local tax revenues, put it in that fund in order to provide for matches and for other local capital items that are not otherwise paid for by state and federal funding.
Any other questions from the board? Betty? Okay, can I get a motion to approve resolution 2328?
So moved.
Second? Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Sure can. Trustee Ahart,
Approved.
trustee Polk, approved. Trustee Hare,
Approved.
trustee Knox,
Approved.
and trustee McBride approves.
Okay, resolution 2328 passed.
Yeah, another one to the staff. Thank you for coming up with creative way
Thanks,
for us to
guys.
keep us moving in the transition with bridge.
Next, we have just a presentation.
Service.
Hello?
Yeah, PowerPoint this time.
I do have a PowerPoint. All right, so. All right, so the City Link Transit Center completed a remodel in April of 2020. Including the remodel was renovation of the customer service area, including expanding the area available to customer service agents. And then part of that discussion was about installing ballistic protection, and 2 points were discussed during that. Due to the presence of Peoria Police Department officers working at the transit center, it was decided there existed enough protection at the time for employees at the transit center. And then after completion of a threat assessment, customers in the lobby were identified as, unfortunately, the more likely target in the event of any type of active shooter type scenario over the employees in the customer service area. So during this remodel, the footprint of the customer service area was expanded. Those 3-panel windows was pretty much the limit of it. It added the countertop space there. Passenger trays were put in at the windows, and then added that 2-panel window that's to the right to give 2 separate workstations for customer service agents. So addition since the remodel, in January 2021, we added these Norcom intercom units to improve communication between the CSRs and the people in the lobby. And tomorrow, the foot rail panic alarms will be installed for both customer service agents. If anyone has any questions as we go through, just let me know. So we have three different options that I've been tasked to look into. The first is to replace existing safety glass with a ballistic glass. So gonna get into some fun stuff here. So there's common ballistic standards for bullet resistant glass. Level 3 is rated for most handgun rounds. Based on just a couple of preliminary quotes, replacing all the existing glass in the customer service area would cost just over $23,000. And that's for the 5 glass panel windows, and then the glass that's on the door that goes to the driver's break room, and then that side light that's there. But replacing the glass would only make the glass bullet resistant, not the rest of the space. So it's just as easy to shoot through concrete block as it is through anything else or under the pass-through at the window. Option 2, which is to renovate the customer service suite. To remove that area that's in yellow would have to be rebuilt to have the whole thing have ballistic protection by installing a product such as Armor Core Level 3 resistant fiberglass wall panels on the interior of the block walls, replacing the full glass door and side light with a metal Level 3 resistant door with a peephole. This would require something above my ability to quote out, require some architect or engineering work to get a price and a scope for. Or sorry, 2 is do the fiberglass and that. 3 is remove it all, rebuild it from bottom up. Don't have pass-through trays, have the bullet resistant transaction drawers. Again, this would be the same type of thing where it required architect and engineering work to get information for better pricing. As a point of information, there's currently no funding available in this fiscal year. So this project would be dependent upon any funding availability for the following fiscal year. Any questions?
Can you explain kind of the background to why this is necessary?
There's been requests made. It's all trustee Polk's fault.
It really is. All I started off with was the fact that every time I turn on the television, there's been another mass shooting someplace, be it at a Walmart, be it at a school. And then when I was down at the transit center, I was looking at how it was set up and the fact that anybody could really just walk up to them and shoot them for that matter, because the times that I've been down there, I have not seen our security people, walking around or doing anything. Now, granted, I'm not there all the time. It's just kind of hit and miss. But my request was just to have, I said bulletproof, but my buddy here said that is astronomical in cost and that it's, what is it, bullet resistant?
Bullet resistant.
Okay. So all I wanted was to know how much it would cost. I wasn't asking for a whole renovation of the center downtown. But I did feel that we needed to have better security for the people that were sitting behind that glass. So that was all that I ever asked for. And the fact that they didn't have any kind of alarm system that they could actually get help if something was going on. Because just because they had telephones, if I've got a shooter in front of me, I'm pretty sure he's going to kill me if I pick up the phone to call somebody. So the buzzer that was there had not been working since they had done all the remodeling. So my question was, why not fix that and get some glass? That's all I asked for. So now we're down to a foot thing, which I still don't understand why you just didn't fix the buzzer thing that was supposed to have been done in the first place. But I don't care as long as they have a method of getting help if they need it. But my only question now is when they hit this floor thing that you got there, Where's the signal go? Who's gonna help them?
It goes to the alarm company, which then contacts the police.
Okay, okay. That was all I ever wanted. And as far as the glass is concerned, could that not come out of the contingency fund that we have every year that's set aside in our budget? Any,
Something we can look into.
yeah, you know, that
See if it
is so,
qualifies.
that is all I wanted was a glass.
Two things. Your
Yeah,
foot-
let's talk.
Your foot thing is nice because if you were talking to the person,
You could just, okay,
they can hit the foot and they can continue talking. He or she has no
Gotcha.
idea.
gotcha.
The bad thing about the glass is like Jason touched on, with these rifles they have now,
Doesn't matter.
it's gonna go right through the, I mean, they, you know, they're just spraying and praying. So
Right,
it's gonna go
right.
underneath the wall. And if
Right.
you're safe to hit the glass, but anything goes under that, it's gonna go right in your
Right in
legs.
between.
Yeah.
So I was just looking for a little extra, because I'm just thinking if I'm sitting down there and all these people from Italy there, I would want to know that I had a little something more than what we had. And that was all. I didn't want a reconfiguration of the whole place.
Yeah, and I wanted to present those other options as other options to use for consideration. That 23,000 approximately for the glass is due to the size of the glass. It can be made less expensive by making those window frames smaller, blocking, you know, because they're,
Pretty tall.
you know, 8-10 foot tall windows. So if you only cut them off to about here where it needs to be, about the, you know, 6 foot, 7 foot level, and then blocked, you know, the next 5 courses, there'd be a lot less glass you have to put in and everything else. And you know, again, that's an approximate. That's based also on the door, because that door is all glass, and a piece of glass that size is heavy.
Right.
So, you know, the recommendation they had made was to actually replace that door with a steel core level 3 door, if that's something we wanted to consider for the future. And I'm sorry, Chris, you had a question.
I'm good, you already answered my question. Thanks.
Any questions from the board? No. Thanks, Jason. Are you done talking? All right, you're done.
Done.
You can breathe. Go for it.
Okay.
It's your show.
This is not mine, so I got nothing.
Okay, this- I can take the
I got a
blame.
bad break. Okay.
You like me.
This one here won't be so bad on this side. What I want to do is I want to speak to you in regards to the present shelters that we have and some that we've had before time. This Brasco here, this is one of my older versions, been around forever. To think about replacing glass panels in it would be very, very, very least cost effective. It's time for us to look away from this one here. So we've already went to the existing dual guard shelters, which they're nice to look at. They've got a solar panel on top that actually gives you a light at night. Unfortunately, these here have been vandalized so much that as you drive around the city, most of them, if they don't have at least 3 or 4 panels of glass already knocked out, the whole thing has been knocked out. When we put the 2 in out at Lexington Hills Apartments, it made it for 1 weekend. And that was it. So unfortunately, to replace the glass panels here, you're just shy of $1,900 per shelter. So it's a lot of replacement there. So now we do have some of these that are on routes that we can actually pull to move to other locations. So it's not like we gotta buy a whole new one. We just have to get the glass replaced. This is option number 1. And of course, in these days with options, there's money attached to it. So this here's a perforated metal panel. What you can do is you can actually see through it. Air can go through it. It won't be let's just say it'll keep your winter effects off of you, but you gotta still feel the chill from it though. Okay, and as you can see, a lot of companies, when they go to this type of panel, they actually include a plexiglass panel with it, just for that time of year. So that's gonna be a little bit more money. So these here, if you wanted to refit our present ones with this type of material, it's just shy of 3,000 per shelter. Option two. This here's what you call a hammer glass. It's a little bit stronger, a little bit tougher than your safety glass. It doesn't shatter as easy, but as you can see, it's a very expensive route to go at over $6,000 per shelter to replace it. Last of all, forget all the shelters and let's go buy new shelters similar to the ones we got. And this one here, yes, you'll get the lights back in it. You'll even have a sign on the front of it or wherever else you want to place it at. Only thing is that with the way prices are going up now, each one of these is just short of $20,000 a piece. So right now, this here I don't think is an option for us. It's just to the point where, you know, by the time you put in $20,000 for a shelter, a bus pad for an additional 8 to 12 cement pad, so that's 8 to 12 more thousand. You spend a bunch of money putting these in. So no, we're not. No, that's not what you want to talk about. Okay. And of course, there's not a revenue stream at this time in any place that we have one, but wanted to actually have this information tonight so you can start thinking about, do we want to go the route to repair what we have? If we purchase new, we can still look for other examples to actually pull from. It's a process that we can continue on with, but we want the board to understand that to replace the glass as it is now, you're gonna put out a little bit more money, but you're gonna put a whole lot more out if you turn around and decide that you're gonna replace all the shelters. So that's just for your consideration tonight. There is no money right now, so well, I'm not asking for any more money. So, yes.
How many shelters do we have approximately?
Is 58 of
Did I miss that?
yeah,
Thank
58
you.
of new ones, yeah.
Okay, so 58, that was the brass, okay, so that's the total number that on that first slide you showed, not just that type.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's it, yeah.
gotcha.
We're trying to discontinue. We're removing as many of these as we can.
Gotcha.
I think the last one of this is gonna be a double stall that we're gonna get back over to Walmart in East Peoria because the wind took out the last one. So we're gonna install it over there. It's just that we gotta get permission from Walmart. We've gotta do a little construction work to actually set this up, so.
So we actually have 76 shelters?
Yes.
It's like,
Okay, I only have one question. When you submit your budget to Christine, do you not include some form or fashion of maintaining those shelters or updating them?
that portion of us, it actually goes to our maintenance. And so because they actually have a
Okay.
guy that services each of those shelters route by route every day. So he actually goes out.
So there is a
cleans and-
line item in the budget for some type of maintenance of those shelters.
Correct,
Okay,
yes.
It's just not,
it's not enough.
it's not 50, 60, $70,000 to go out and fix them each year. That's,
No.
yeah. It's basic repairs. It's just, it's gotten out of control.
Is there federal funding for these types of things?
There may be some state
For
funding. At one time, the state actually told us we had enough shelters, though, but we'll see if they've had a change of heart here, so.
Again, that we have 76 total shelters
Right.
now, and how many total stops, and how, just curious, how do you what's the architecture behind deciding when we need a shelter or not? Does that should probably play into
Right.
this, right?
And what we do is we go by stops that have at least 25 people pick up per day. Okay, a lot of other cities go out higher, but then they've got higher populations and they do that. So, but it's 25 people on a stop per day. We can get a shelter in, provided that. Now remember, every stop we put in, that has to be relayed and tied back to the city of Peoria because of their ordinance.
Gotcha.
Which has been on the book since 1955, so, yeah, so.
Do you have a plan for like this, the shelter down by Main, you know, like there's no glass or anything in it? What do we do there? That's just,
Well, no, that's what we're doing here now is that I want to give you a few things to think about. So that when we come back to you to see if we can actually, which route you want to take. Do you want to stay with the glass? Or do you want to go with the metal panels or?
so if we say go with the 2970, can we come up with that money or no? Or is there
Well,
money in the budget?
no, there's no money in the budget right now, so we gotta do something. Yeah, we're trying to find some somewhere, so. Yes, ma'am.
My only question is the ones that appear to be vandalized the most, could we put those type of shelters there, but leave and have a combination of different shelters? So that we're not trying to come up with 3,000 times 76, but pick the ones that are in the areas where the most damage happens and do the upgrade on them and then just keep doing the same maintenance? Or are they all bad? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, from looking around the city right now, there aren't too many that aren't missing a couple of glass panels, at least, yes. I mean, we thought the one in West Peoria would be safe, but no, it's not.
Yeah.
So in some of those areas where we get the most vandalism, do we get information back from the riders in those areas? Do they even care?
Oh,
I'm just curious. I mean, because if they the shelter, do they even care there's a shelter there? The ones that are the true riders. I'm just curious because are we trying to fix a problem where the people in the area don't care about the shelter anyway?
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because the weekend that we put these shelters in at Lexington Hills, and we went back out to check it that Monday morning, and all the glass is gone. There was 2 older ladies out there that said, "Don't let me catch them before you do."
Okay.
So yeah, they care. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And of course, we never caught anybody. So.
Is there any other, I don't know whether we're limited by, legislation again, is there any other funding any other, is Emily, I saw her, is she on the line, or is she still in the meeting? I don't know, just like we sell wraps on buses, I mean, is there a method that we can generate funds where someone would advertise on a shelter, which would help offset that cost?
Yeah.
Right.
Be creative.
That's been something that oh, sorry. That's been something that has been mentioned over the years. It's been my understanding that there was some type of restriction with the city for advertising on the shelters, so we've never been able to pursue that. But I don't know if that's something that we can try to have a conversation with the city leaders to see if that could change.
I think so. Why not? Like I said, it's been that way for 1956, you said?
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, 55. Yeah.
Emily, would that fall into like the sign ordinance, something like that, as far as the city?
It might, yes. I'm not really sure. I haven't looked into it very closely, but it's certainly something I think that we could add to our advertising options if we got the permission from the city to pursue it.
And is that an issue for all 3 cities in our district, or is it just Peoria? Does the same ordinance apply for the Heights in West Peoria?
I think it's just for Peoria. Yeah.
I know we have a sign ordinance also, but I'm sure it's probably mirrors Peoria cities to a point.
So let's check them all.
The Peoria city ordinance is really related to us being able to use the right of way. And it's a specific ordinance that was developed a number of years ago, specifically when we started putting up these shelters. And the city council at that time, I think, was concerned that they did not want the district to turn this into billboards and, site pollution and all of those kinds of issues too. So they had their own issues, community issues about not turning these things, into, billboards. So, and so we worked with the city at different times concerning, being able to put concrete pads in the right-of-way space and other areas. So it's mainly been with the city, but they've had their own sets of concerns about it. The other thing you have to realize too, the more, just from a safety standpoint, and I know Ken's a former police officer, you talk about this, I mean, one of the potential problems as you add advertising or other things to them, it makes the area more secluded, more difficult to be observed, which creates, some danger for the passenger if people cannot see through and see whether or not someone's being attacked or something's going on there. That's an issue. So that it's a very it's a complicated, situation. Because there's lots of different players with different interests, and all of that needs to be blended together in trying to come up with a solution. So,
I mean, if you go to the signage, if you want to put it up there, like on this one here, if this is the inbound bus coming this way, you're only going to be able to put a sign on this side here. The rest of it's got to be open, okay? Because bus drivers got to be able to see what's going on, and people inside are going to have to be able to see out this side here. Because like that's you just going to get one side to put the signage on. So.
For your third slide, it has like the curfew or option 3 slide.
Right here. That's it, period. So
That's fine. I mean, if something's better than nothing is another way to generate revenue, or even if it's just something that can be put on the roof as a sign, or there's, the first step is to overcome what we can and can't do by ordinance, and let's investigate that. And from there, if that's all we could do, that's still, better than doing nothing.
right.
Doesn't the school at University in Laux have, wasn't it named for the guy, but he donated the whole shelter, right?
But yeah, they donated the whole shelter and actually put in the extra money for the for that block to be cut out for a bus to actually pull into it off the streets. So, yeah.
This is great what you've done. I appreciate putting this out there because it's something to consider.
Well, we're not going to stop with this here just
No, it's a
tonight
great
because
step.
there's, I'm looking at Chicago and Denver. They actually use an open style type shelter, but it works for them. And their weather is just as bad as ours. So. Except for Denver, yes.
I'd say it's a lot colder here for our ridership. I've just spent 20 years in Colorado. It is warmer and much nicer there than here. I had to change my winter coat when I moved here.
I'll give you credit because when you have to put this on in the morning and by the afternoon it's done.
10 a.m.
Yeah.
The sun is bright, you're close to the sun, and it's all melted off.
Okay, any other discussion on this?
Thank
The
you.
board, thank you, Ken. All
So,
right.
thanks.
Discussion of management contract approval of actions arising from the discussion board. So I think after talking with the board, Bill, you might be able to help us walk through this. I think we would like a motion to terminate the Greater Peoria Mass Transit District contract with TransDev. Doing that, then we have to terminate, and then we're talking.
It's hard to hear down here when you're facing the.
Sorry, I think we as a board have discussed terminating the contract with TransDev going forward. And I just need to know what, first we need a motion approval, and then it would be in writing, right? It has to be 60-day notice, correct?
right. I mean, the minimum notice is 60 days. So one of the things you have to think about is, there's nothing, we have to give them at least a 60-day notice. So there's nothing that says you can't say, okay, we want to terminate this contract in 90 days, or pick a date somewhere between 60 and, X number of days based on the calendar, like, May 1st or June 1st or particular, I think it's probably better, in my thinking, to do this at the beginning of a month. In other words, to run this through the end of the month and then have it conclude at that particular time. The thing you need to be thinking about is the time period that you need in order to, hire the personnel that's going to act as individual employees of the district as opposed to a management company. So I think you need to kind of look at that, look at the timeframes, take into consideration. I mean, there are a lot of different factors time-wise, the building construction, how far you want to go in some of this stuff. But all of this is something you need to be thinking about. But 60 days is the minimum notice we can provide to them.
Okay.
Now, they obviously have the right to terminate on 60 days notice. So if we gave them a longer period, they in theory could tell us, fine, we're done in 60 days, an earlier termination. But, realistically, I think I would think that they would want to end that relationship on good terms, because that's something you don't want. You're in this industry, you don't want to create a bad situation and have that,
So in order for us to do that, would we need to make a motion tonight to end this
Sure.
X date?
Yeah,
Whatever
if there's a particular date you want to use, or, I mean, it's at least 60 days out from now.
Okay.
But the question is, what would that date be out into the future, giving yourself enough time to be able to go through the process of, looking into who you'd like to hire.
So if we said, just throwing out, if we said May 1, that gives us over 60, right? It's my
Yeah.
math. There probably should be no math, but
It's a
my
bad
shoes
word,
on.
yeah.
Maybe on April 30th, something
So,
like that.
so yeah, May 1, April 30th would be a date that we could,
Sure.
effective that date, at the terminate contract and then.
Right.
Is that something that, is that simple? Is it that, I've
Yeah.
never, okay.
Isn't May 1 our fiscal year?
No, we have a,
June 30th.
When we had the annual.
June 30th, right?
that has to do, the May 1st really had to do with the appointment of, it has to do with the annual meeting of the district, but doesn't have anything to do with the fiscal year. It has to do with when the district was created and some of the
Yeah.
timing issues related to that. So it's of, in my mind, it's of no significance with regard to this issue.
Okay.
And that would then would give us approximately 75 days to figure out
Sure.
general manager, assistant general manager, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. What is, what's the board think? We've discussed. Does somebody want to make a motion that we, as a board, to Greater Peoria Mass Transit, terminate the contract with TransDev as of effective May 1? We'll get the ball rolling that way, or you want to do more discussion on it? What do we want to do as a board?
So we have to bring in, where's transit, notify them at the same time.
Well, I
Well,
think,
we would send a
we-
notification to them in writing that the contract's being terminated. We have the right under the term of the contract to terminate it on 60 days notice. Just like they can terminate us on 60 days notice and say, we don't want to provide you management services anymore. We've got, other fish to fry, so to speak. So
it's like.
we don't have to ask anybody's permission, Sharon.
Okay,
There's no permission here. We've got it in the contract.
I did not remember all the subtleties.
So,
And is there any, and I'm not saying there is there any reason that we would want to go longer than the 60 plus end of month? I don't know. I'm not saying, I can't think of why, but I'm saying, let's think about that real quick before we, so we can set an appropriate date.
Or you
Is
think,
there again, there's no issue with the rotation of the annual meeting or the fiscal year, or when is their contract up for, because we have an auto, what do we do, like 5 years and we auto renew? Or so, are we renew every year and then we have to renegotiate every 5 year? I don't know, what is those terms? What is that date? What's our
when that
annual date?
contract officially ends
2.5 years from now.
2.5 years from now?
Okay, so there's nothing where we have to re-up every year, not based on like the annual, renewal on a 5-year term or something like that.
The last renewal was for 3 years.
Okay,
And that was probably, I don't even know, 6 months ago,
okay,
probably.
got it.
The only, I mean, we can extend it to 90 days if you want to. The only thing with the 75 is that we have to do is we'd have to get the general manager system in place
Mhm.
within that time. If not, then we're kind of ship without a captain,
Right.
So if you think, if everyone's comfortable, we think we can get those 2 positions worked out within 75 days, then I think we go and move.
Agreed.
I agree.
Okay, well, let's, do I hear a motion that the Greater Peoria Mass Transit City Link dissolve their contract with TransDev effective May 1, 2023?
So moved.
What
I
about?
was gonna suggest April 30.
Yeah. I was thinking
April 30?
end of month.
Or is that 31 or 30, whatever the last day of that previous month,
It's
so that we're ending that month.
April 30? Okay, so
Yeah.
dissolve
I
that
just school
April,
teacher, teach me.
effective April 30.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, we have a second.
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion, questions, comments about that? Hearing none, can we get a roll call vote?
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
trustee Paul, approved. Trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Knox,
Approved.
trustee McBride, on approval.
Motion passed. Last topic, financial report, January
So I
2020.
what do we do about First Transit then? We have to notify, I've never done big contracts or anything. But we have to notify TransDev first.
TransDev is First
Yeah,
Transit.
bought out.
Okay, TransDev bought First Transit.
Pardon?
TransDev bought First Transit.
Oh, I did not, no. Oh,
They did it as of January. So First Transit doesn't exist.
Gotcha.
And real quick, I know we've done this, so, but TransDev and First, they should have student, they're 2 different things, correct?
Under the same umbrella.
Oh, yes, okay, but 2 different entities.
Yes,
Okay,
completely different.
all right, thank you. Okay.
And this has no, and just for clarification, and this has no effect, currently has no effect with our other TransDev relationship with microtransit.
Paratransit.
Or paratransit, thank you.
Separate contract.
Okay, financial report.
This is easy. In January, the total monthly operating expenses were $2,711,423.52. And the capital expenditure for the facility construction project was $1,161,487.09. So those are the numbers that need to be approved.
Do we have a motion to approve the financial report for 2023?
I don't have access to.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second.
No, get you back.
roll call vote.
Trustee Ahart,
Approve.
trustee Paul, approved. Trustee Hare,
Approve.
trustee Knox,
Approved.
and trustee McBride, approved.
Motion passed. Sharon, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right, motion adjourned, we stand.
First, I want to congratulate